want to know is, how do you balance what you learn about the world when you can understand more of it with the math and the science, with what you learn about the world from the Bible?
All right, so this college student challenges on the interpretation of the Bible. So make sure to watch to the end, guys, because this one's a good one, and I can't wait to see his interaction. And I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's get right into it.
Hey, what's your name?
My name's Thomas.
Thomas, go ahead.
My question is, why do Christians determine whether we should take part of Scripture more seriously than others?
Why do Christians determine?
What
do you mean? What do you mean?
Because I've been told that we shouldn't listen to some passages as hard as the other ones.
Who told you that?
I couldn't tell you.
You can tell me. I won't tell anyone. There's only thousands of people watching. Go ahead.
Well, just because I wouldn't know.
Maybe what happened was teachers may have said, this particular passage has more life application to you than some other passage. Maybe that's what they meant. And that could be true, right? For example, the books called the epistles from Romans to Jude, those probably have more life application to present-day Christians than, say, 2 Chronicles, which is just chronicles some of the kings in the Old Testament, right? Some of the happenings. They're both important, but how you live today is more talked about in the epistles than it is in 2 Chronicles. So maybe that's what he meant, or whoever gave you that information.
It was more like we should live by the New Testament rather than the Old.
Well, it depends on what you mean by that. It is true that the Old Covenant is obsolete. That's what the writer of Hebrews says. So everything from Exodus 20 to the end of Deuteronomy, all those laws there, including the 10 Commandments, were just for Israel. Only if those commands are repeated in the New Testament are they binding on Christians. And they are repeated. 9 of the 10 Commandments are repeated in the New Testament. Only keep holy the Sabbath is not, because Jesus is our Sabbath. He's our rest. But a lot of the Old Testament, obviously the dietary laws no longer apply. The ceremonial law doesn't apply anymore. It applied just to ancient Israel. It doesn't apply to us today. This is also why, well, some of you are going to hate me for this, but I don't care. I'm leaving tomorrow, okay? This is also why you should never say Jeremiah 29:11 is a promise to you. What's Jeremiah 29:11? You guys know what Jeremiah 29:11 is, right? Oh, the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope in a future. Is that a promise to 21st century Christians living in Beaumont, Texas? No. Who is that a promise to? That was a promise to the exiles who were taken out of Judah in 586 BC by the Babylonian dictator Nebuchadnezzar. He came down to Judah and he just destroyed Jerusalem and the temple, and he took a bunch of people to modern-day Iraq, Babylon. And what God was saying through the prophet Jeremiah to those exiles was that 70 years later he was going to prosper them. He's got plans for them, right? And it turned out that exactly 70 years later, in 516 BC, they began to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem.
The Bible was not written to us, but can't you apply that to your life, though? Don't you think, like, God does have an amazing plans? But, okay, it's not the materialistic sense where he's going to give us riches and fame and popularity, amazing plans. I mean, you could die tomorrow, and that doesn't mean it's not an amazing plan. Like, don't you think that God has a plan for everyone, and therefore it would be amazing? Maybe not in our sense, maybe not in the way we think, but it still could be amazing in God's eyes. We could be with him in heaven, you know. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about that.
But it's not a promise to us today. When people say, oh, Jeremiah 29:11, I'm claiming that for me. When they say that, I say to them, hey, why don't you claim Jeremiah 44:11 as a promise to you? What does Jeremiah 44:11 say? Jeremiah 44:11 is a promise that God made to the exiles that went to Egypt. And he warned them, don't go to Egypt. You know what Jeremiah 44:11 says? It says, I will destroy you and all Judah. You don't see that stitched into a pillow. You don't see that on a coffee mug. You don't see that on a birthday card, happy birthday. I will destroy you in all Judah. That is so sweet, Grandma. Thank you so much. No. In other words, Thomas, your teacher may have been saying, we can't take verses out of context. The Bible is not a book of Proverbs. Yes, there's a book of Proverbs in the Bible, but only those passages can you just take out and say, okay, here's a nugget of wisdom. The other passages you need to read around and see what's going on. And not every promise you read in the Bible is a promise to you or me. It may have been a promise to the Israelites or the people that just went to Babylon or somebody else. Right? We've got to figure that out by looking at the context. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Tristan.
Tristan,
and
go ahead.
Firstly, I want to apologize. Pizza and sitting down does not go well with diabetes. That is loud.
That's very interesting. No, but for God, yeah, it's true. Like, a lot of people take that verse out of context. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and give you a hope in the future. Obviously, he's not writing to you.
I like to consider myself I like to consider myself someone who follows knowledge. I like to obtain knowledge, and eventually, I want to go into a career like physics or something.
Good.
And a lot of times, more scientific careers, the higher education someone, gets, they tend to think that they can explain enough stuff. They don't need God anymore. I don't plan to follow that. But what I do want to know is, how do you balance what you learn about the world when you can understand more of it with the math and the science, with what you learn about the world from the Bible?
Yeah, great question. First of all, the Bible is a revelation from God, whereas science is a method we use to discover cause and effect relationships inside the universe. Okay? In order for cause and effect relationships to occur inside the universe, first of all, you need a universe, right? Second of all, it has to be fine-tuned. These are some of the arguments we'll go through tomorrow. Third of all, you need to exist. Fourth, you need to have a mind so you can ascertain what's true outside your skull. Fifth, the laws of logic must exist. Sixth, the laws of nature must exist. And they must be consistent and persistent so you can recognize cause and effect in the universe. Science can explain none of those. In order to do science, you need all those prerequisites. The question is, where do all those things come from to begin with? You can't prove them by science. You need them in order to do science. We also have a book, it's not here tonight, but it's called Stealing from God, Why Atheists Need God to Make Their Case. And there's a chapter in the book on science, and here's the title of the chapter. Science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. Why? Because all data needs to be gathered, and all data needs to be interpreted, and who does that? Scientists do that. I mean, did you ever wonder why you got such conflicting advice on COVID? Why did you get such conflicting advice?
Different interpretations.
Different interpretations, right? If scientists have good data and they interpret it rightly, you'll get good advice. If they got good data, don't interpret it rightly, you'll get bad advice. If they got bad data, it doesn't matter how they interpret it, you're going to get bad advice. If there's a political agenda, that'll never happen. No, scientists and others made a lot of money and had a lot of power by essentially interpreting the data the way they wanted to interpret it. And that's where we are now. Everybody, I hope everybody can recognize that those vaccines were very harmful. Now looking back at it, and we were told, oh no, you got to take the vaccine. Meanwhile, people coming across the border didn't need to take the vaccine. Oh gee, I wonder why. Oh, we had to do social distancing, except if you're protesting for the right thing. Then you don't need social distancing. Do you see how politicized this got? So I think that science is a wonderful tool, but it's just a tool.
I agree with that.
It requires other aspects of reality that science itself can't explain in order to even go forward. So I hope you get into science. It's a wonderful endeavor, but don't allow people in science who are atheists try and tell you that science has somehow disproven God. In fact, science would be impossible unless there was a God.
I agree.
All
Thank
right?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Science would be impossible if there was no God. Science is just something that helps us to observe the things that are in the world. God is outside of the world. He created the universe. He created the law. He's the law giver. So now I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Hebrews 1 through 10 says, "And now in these final days, he has spoken to us through his Son. God promised everything to the Son as an inheritance, and through the Son, he created the universe." So go to God today. He loves you, and he's longing to have a relationship with you. Comment down below your thoughts on this, whatever that may be. In the description below, you could click the link to help you decide to follow Jesus for the first time. I encourage you to do that today. And guys, trying to hit 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I know we could do it with your help. So thank you for all your love and support. We just hit 15,000 over the weekend, so I love and appreciate you all for just the amazing help and support that you guys been coming alongside. So thank you guys. Anyway, you also might like this video here. Peace.